Hey best friends, in this episode we are going to talk about customizing and fleshing out Tyranny of Dragons campaign, starting with a focus on the Cult of the Dragon itself. This is going to be a very spoiler-heavy episode, so if you are a player in a Tyranny of Dragons game or campaign, or if you want to be a player in the Tyranny of Dragons game at some point in the future, you should probably stop watching this video now. We're going to touch on a lot of big spoilers throughout this video. So now that that is out of the way, when talking about the Cult of the Dragon and customizing them, I guess a little piece of advice up front: you don't have to change anything if you don't want to. You can pretty easily keep everything as it is in this adventure and really only make a few small changes to flesh out some gaps, and you can run this game with minimal work. But for this adventure, for Tyranny of Dragons as a campaign, there are kind of a lot of gaps, so you're gonna have to put in at least some work. I am currently running a heavily modified version of Tyranny of Dragons for my home game, so I also want to talk about, initially, before I get into some of these specifics, why I put so much effort into customizing it. One, I think overall it gives you better control as a DM. And two, it makes it easier to adjust the game on the fly if your players do something that the book doesn't anticipate, which your players will most definitely do. For any of you out there that are very familiar with the D&D lore or history of some of the characters that I'm about to go into, there are some things that I keep in a character's backstory even if I change them or redesign them. I generally tend to keep what feels right and what I think works in my particular game, and I will get rid of what doesn't feel right or what I don't think is going to work. When I am customizing or tailoring a pre-written adventure or campaign, I tend to start with the little things. I start with changing names first. I change people. I work my way out from there, and I find it's easier to start with changing specific things and then working out to broader changes. But that's just me. It could be easier for you to do it a different way. I think just work on trying out new things and see what is best for you. As we get into the specifics of the Cult of the Dragon at the heart of the Tyranny of Dragons campaign or adventure, for this video, I want to focus on the specific changes that I made to the cult in my game and why I made those changes. Feel free to steal whatever you like or use it as an inspiration to come up with your own changes in your own game. One of the major changes that I made up front in my campaign is that the Cult of the Dragon does not refer to itself as the Cult of the Dragon. It is a cult that refers to itself as the Heart of the Dragon. And one of the reasons why I made this change is I think I actually stole this from Sly Flourish. They have a website with a lot of phenomenal resources on running all different pre-written adventures. I highly recommend you check it out if you're not familiar with their work. But cults generally don't refer to themselves as cults in real life because they don't consider themselves cults. They usually consider themselves legitimate organizations or religious orders. So in my game, they call themselves the Heart of the Dragon. It's everybody else that refers to them as a cult. And in my game, their phrase is the Heart of the Dragon beats strong. Most of the lower level cultists have no idea what the real major plan is, and the higher ups in the cult keep it that way by sort of pitting the factions against each other based on the chromatic color that they associate with. Okay, getting into the main players in the cult and their overall plans. Severin Silrajan in my game is changed to Tyrolean Grey, the leader of the Heart of the Dragon and the Red Worm Speaker. I did name him after a type of cheese, because I just thought it was a really cool sounding name. As written and drawn, I just don't think he's as cool or as intimidating as he should be, considering that he's one of the masterminds behind this whole story. I will have a link to some of my working documents and my planning documents in the description, so you can look at and steal whatever you might want from how I went about this. But the short version is that Tyrolean plans to summon Tiamat from hell to our world so that a prophecy can come true, and he believes that he will be rewarded by Tiamat for orchestrating her release, when really she's the one pulling the strings and manipulating him to get out of hell. He's allied himself with the Red Wizards of Thay to gain the magical power necessary for that final ritual to summon Tiamat. In my game, his backstory is very similar to the general background and plan that he had in the book, but I made a lot of little changes to make him much more like the charismatic cult leader I felt he should be. In my game, he's much more of a sort of Jared Leto creepy cult leader. Rath Modar, one of the Red Wizards of Thay, is changed to Relina Yecht in my game, a human woman who is still a Red Wizard of Thay. I haven't done much in the way of building her backstory yet. I know that as a Red Wizard in exile, I wanted her and her vibe to be sort of punk inspired, but I don't have a full fleshed out backstory for her yet. I have time, I will get there at some point. If you are customizing characters and campaigns that are pre-written, you don't have to have everything changed and planned out before you run that adventure. You can leave some things blank and see what sparks you while you're playing, and it gives you some time to build out your characters that your players won't run into for a while, and you can just sort of keep them on the back burner and develop them as you go. In my game, Zaz Tam is changed to Deegan the Corpse Maker, the leader of the Red Wizards. I honestly didn't change too much with his backstory, just a few things here and there to make it a little cleaner, make it make a little more sense to me. He is still a ruthless necromancer. He was one of the Zulkirs of Thay before the Spell Plague, and that was back when they were very dysfunctional, very chaotic. During the Spell Plague, Deegan orchestrated his rise to power above the Zulkirs as regent and supreme ruler, and now the Zulkirs answer to him, and since he took power, the number of undead in Thay has increased significantly. His governing philosophy and the general philosophy religion of Thay is that undeath is a more powerful and preferred state of being for its people. The living believe that they are worthless in their fragile and finite husks of their bodies, and that they will achieve a higher state of being when they die and are eventually resurrected. So the living in Thay, in my game, basically operate like ants or worker bees. They destroy their bodies to build the empire that is Thay. I made some of these changes because I did not like the slavery aspect of Thay, and I felt it made more sense to change things to a deeper and disturbing series of religious beliefs. I felt it was more in line with the cult aspect of the game and the story, and on top of that, my players had already had a run-in with some Shadar Kai in the Shadowfell, and they did not like their religious dedication to the Raven Queen. So Thay sort of became another instance of religious dedication to the extreme. The Red Wizards of Thay remain the Red Wizards of Thay in my game because my players have seen the D&D movie, and one of them did ask if they were ever going to run into the Red Wizards in our game, so honestly I just left them unchanged. Moving on to the Worm Speakers themselves. In my game, Resmir remains Resmir. She is a black half-dragon and the Black Worm Speaker. I didn't really feel the need to change anything with her. I think that she holds up well as is. Varum the White in my game is changed to Hiram Black River, still a dwarven male, and the current White Worm Speaker. The adventure as written doesn't really give you a lot of information about Varum, so I took this as an opportunity to make the character into someone that I figured my players were probably not gonna like when they meet him. In my game, he does not have a white dragon yet. He was recently appointed as the White Worm Speaker over Katya, who we will get to in a second. He was supposed to be working on locating and bonding with some white dragons, but the dragon mask was stolen from him before he could accomplish that. I reworked him into kind of a bumbling idiot that was placed in a position of power because he was easily manipulated by Tyrolean, but he thinks he's awesome and he thinks he's very deserving of his position. Talus the White, the previous White Worm speaker, is changed to Katja Danes, also known as the Songbird in my game. She's a female human bard, and she was the original White Worm speaker and was previously in possession of the White Dragon Mask until she was demoted for various reasons, and the White Dragon Mask was given to Hiram Black River instead. She is super pissed about the mask being taken away from her and really wants to see Hiram fail, which is why she's willing to work with the players when they meet her at the hunting lodge in Chapter 7, because she really just wants her position and the White Dragon mask back. She does not care if it causes problems for the cult in the long run. Nirenvain remains Nirenvain, the Green Worm speaker. However, I did change some of his history and his backstory a little. In my game, Nirenvain is the name that he chose for himself as Worm Speaker, because he's the kind of guy that thinks he's cool enough to give himself a cool nickname. His real name is Temian Melandrak, the exiled son of King Adrasin Melandrak. This way, the name of Nirenvain won't mean anything to anyone if the players learn it, and the reveal that he is the presumed dead son of the Elf King will actually be kind of a big deal. And finally, Galvin the Blue is replaced by Elodie the Surgeon, a female water genasi and the current Blue Worm speaker. In the adventure as written in Tyranny of Dragons, Galvin the Blue is named, but never actually appears anywhere in the adventure, so feel free to cut this character out if you don't want them, or customize them and place them wherever makes sense for your adventure. In my game, my players have been to the Shadowfell and have had some minor interactions with the Raven Queen and her Shadowkai subjects, so Elodie is not immediately around because her plan is to go to the Shadowfell to try to recruit and corrupt dragons and eventually plane shift them to the Prime Plane. She thinks that it'll give the cult a tactical advantage, and also it generally keeps her out of harm's way, so if anything does go south for the cult, she's got a good reason to either not be there or to disappear quickly. If things are successful, then the hope is that she can offer up the Shadowfell to Tiamat as well. The party in my game can meet her in the Shadowfell in the future, and it gives them a reason to go back to the Shadowfell to run into some old characters that they haven't seen in a while. I also changed the names of almost all of the dragons in this campaign. I generally don't like the way the dragons are named in official D&D books, so I came up with my own list of dragon names that I thought were cool or interesting, and I just went to town changing and adding dragon names. In my game, Lenathon is replaced by Cetaseer the Vicious, the blue dragon flying over Greenest during the raid. He is the father of Cyanrath, whose name I shortened just to Cyanrath. Voragamanther is replaced by Brazen Dusk, but they do remain two black dragons secretly living in the same lair and operating under the same name. Orathator is replaced by Palebreaker, the Old White Death. Chuth is replaced by Idlerot, who may be an Emerald Gem Dragon. I'm not sure yet, I haven't quite nailed that one down. Glazael is replaced by Ranarath the Ghost. Arveatrace is replaced by Hallow Hunter. Hundar is replaced by Desrad the Sorrowbringer, also known as the Red Rage. And I threw in some extra dragons as well. I've got Grinstagger, Bittergrieve, Mandragora the Heart Eater, Bresk the Violator, Savartan the Grief-Stricken. The list goes on. I've got more of them in a document somewhere, because this is an adventure called Tyranny of Dragons. There should be a bunch of super cool dragons with intimidating names. So definitely my recommendation would be to change the names and add more. And those are really all the big ones. Feel free to steal some or all of these ideas and expand on them in your games. Let me know what your thoughts are, and let me know if there's anything specific that you want me to talk about. Leave a comment or send me an email at bugbearbestie@gmail.com. And if you use any of these ideas, or if you take any of the things you got from this video and change it for your own campaign, let me know. I would love to hear about it. Next episode, I will actually get into the adventure proper, and we will talk about Chapter 1 of the story, Greenest in Flames. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.